Now, if you had told me about a decade ago that Hyundai would be developing a premium brand that would give the competition a run for their money, I would have shrugged my shoulders and said, well, we'll see about that. Well, that day has come to fruition. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, about a decade ago, Hyundai just didn't excite me. Kind of plain Jane automobiles, but they did develop two kind of luxury liners, basically the Genesis and Equus models. So what they've done is, well, kind of took that little getting their feet wet and developed a whole premium lineup, taking the nameplate Genesis. And what we have behind me is just one offering. If you think decade plus ago, Hyundai truly wasn't in the premium world, and nor did I think they'd get there. But the way they educated me is by delivering two premium models. First off was the Hyundai Genesis and the Hyundai Equus. That all of a sudden woke me up and said, hey, premium doesn't have to cost a fortune. Then what they did is they dropped the Equus altogether, made Genesis the brand because they said, hey, now we've educated, let's go off on our own. So the Genesis being the premium side of things, now delivering the signature models. This one being the entry-level sports sedan, the G70. And what I like is it truly mimics what the competition is doing, and they do it better and maybe a little bit less expensive. Now, first off is really the overall styling. Nice sporty sedan, almost mimicking a little bit more coupe. The numbers really spell that kind of, because it's not too big. Even better, nice tight lines. Not too much overhang in the front. Really nice, huge elongated hood. Shortened there at the back end. So let's take a look at the numbers to see where this thing truly measures up. So from the profile, this is where you can see some great styling and the premium side. First off, at the four corners, nice darkened brush rims versus those old chrome things that are really going by the wayside, with the darker accents really setting this off and letting you know it's sport. That tends to be the indicator that this thing can go fast, not to mention those red brake calipers. Now, even better is the overall numbers. Now, what you're going to see is it's not really mid-size. It's going to fall short of that, around about 184 inches, wheelbase around about 111. As for overall height, around about 4.5 feet, basically 55 inches, 6 feet wide. So what does that mean? Well, it's not too big and really gives you that sporty feel. Even better is it's coupled to a nice power plant. But when you look at the profile, this is where it truly shines. Nice elongated hood that I mentioned, but look here at the front end. One thing I've noticed on a lot of the kind of Lexus models is they don't stop tight to the body. Really, that front end has a lot of overhang, just a little bit too much going on. This one really giving you that nice blunt force trauma front end, nice and dramatic. Sweep around to the back, elongated hood, elongated roof, but a very stout rear end. Really gives you that sport styling, something typical for the premium sports sedan. Nice modest rear deck lid, implied spoiler, and what I like is the design is basically sculpted in here at the back end. Now, I'm over 6 feet tall, which means that 4.5 foot roof line does make for kind of a back-bending affair to climb inside, but one thing that makes it easier to get in is, well, the smart key systems, and it all starts right here at the door. Now, first off, when the vehicle is locked, what I like is the mirrors do tuck in. Now, this isn't a wide footprint, basically 72 inches, so is it necessary? Well, kind of, because other people don't necessarily care about leaving the scrapes and dings, so at least this vehicle tries to get up out of the way. Now, what I like is, well, it's kind of intuitive. Now, one thing about premium vehicles is typically when you put your hand here, it tends to know you're there. But remember, this is the entry level, so that is kind of the next step of luxury. This one, keeping it somewhat straightforward. Good old press button right here. Now, on the passenger side, that means it unlocks everything with ease. On the driver's side, it is a two-step process. Press it once for the driver's door, press it again for everyone else. Now, it is real easy, of course, once you get inside. Now, the only thing I would prefer is to basically allow this access point at every door entry, because basically if you're coming with your hands full, you more or less are going to have to come here first, then come here. It would be just a little bit more step of premium to put access points everywhere you go. So it's great to have security at the door, but one feature I truly like is lockability when it comes to the fill-up area. And what's great on the G70 is it's locked all the time. The only way to get access is by pressing the button there by the steering wheel, pops this open. Now, just for note, it is a cap system, the good old throwback Thursday, no capless, which is kind of a flip of a coin. What do you prefer? Now, here at the back end, one thing I like on the Hyundais and now the Genesis is the automated rear trunk. Now, what that means is basically keep the key in your pocket, When the vehicle is locked, simply come up. You'll hear those 3 audible beeps. That's letting you know the vehicle senses you're there. So if you got your arms full, well, it's automatically going to pop open if you remain here at the back end. Now, if you're just going simply to the driver's door, just simply keep on going. It'll stop beeping, no big deal. What's great is this really gets up out of the way. Now, it's typical cavernous area back here. The trunk isn't really big at all. It's really shallow when it comes to depth. That really kind of can come into play for any big luggage. But again, this is kind of only about 184 inches overall, so we don't expect any luxury liners back here. But again, it is somewhat cavernous, but the height just itself isn't as tall as I would expect. So diving a little bit closer, again, this right here held a full-size luggage quite well, but if you do tend to have anything that's big, maybe a box is a little bit out of the norm, it possibly may not slide back here. Now, one thing to note, beneath the cargo floor is there is a full-size spare. Now, the one thing about chrome on any vehicle is if you just do too much of it all the way around, it starts to make the vehicle look like a Mr. T starter kit. But if you put all your focus in, well, one basket, or in this case, one grill, it just sets off the vehicle just right with just a hint of accent here and there. And that's exactly what the G70. Could you call this also a copycat of maybe some other premium vehicles, even maybe right down to the Bentley? Well, certainly, but Genesis knows what they like. And at first off, it starts with this chrome right here, and of course the pattern in the grille really is a premium touch, and that wing kind of emblem front and center. The hood nice and sculpted with just a little bit of ridge line to remind you, hey, this is kind of sporty, not to mention that kind of long aircraft carrier hood just sitting there blazing out the windshield when you're driving down the road. Now, as for the overall body overhang, again, really nice tight lines. Something other vehicles like the Lexus just protrude too much, almost look like a witch's nose when you look from the side. This one really diving off with just a little bit of lower flare, but again, doesn't come out far at all. Nice lower chrome accents down here. Fog lights really stylized up front. This grille warfare truly takes the cake. So the grille warfare can only do so much. After all, if you have all talk and no show, well, pretty much people are going to forget about you and probably scoot on by. But what's great on the G70 is it comes with 2 turbocharged options, either the 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder or the as-tested 3.3 liter V6. Now, when it comes to overall numbers, basically the 4-cylinder is going to be 252 horses and 260 foot-pounds, while the V6 delivers 365 horses and 376 foot-pounds. Now, both engines are standard with an 8-speed automatic transmission, but if you prefer the good old clutch stance, well, that only comes as an option for the 4-cylinder in the good old 6-speed manual. So the sport sedan feel really comes on the inside, most notably in the sport style seating with the nice quilted stitching that really adds to the overall comfort. Now, it does have a little bit of bolstering on the side, but I found that that can be adjusted to accommodate almost any size individual. Now, looking in the front, one thing you will notice the overall abundancy when it comes to leg room, really allowing any individual to stretch out. In my case, given my 6-foot-plus frame, plenty of opportunity to get far away from the dash and really kind of feel my overall comfort. Now, when you go to the second row, first thing you're really going to notice is that sport style seating is continued with really the overall stitching looking and mimicking the front, of course, really individualized attention on the outside, great comfort. Now, the one thing you'll also note is really no basic bench styling here, really nice sculpting here in the cushion area, a little bit of hump in the middle. So this is truly a 2+2 design with no real third occupant finding any comfort. And where that comes into play is simply with that limited feet room there at the bottom. Now, one other space that is limited is, well, when it comes to leg room, as you can tell, is with those seats in the modest positioning, well, there's just a crevice when it comes to leg room. Now, the only thing that's really going to help out with that is these niches here, really giving you a nice indent for your knees, but that still only gives you just enough space. Now, I put a younger child back here, my daughter who's 11. She even felt, well, somewhat compromised, so it wouldn't hurt to slide those front seats forward or simply just make this a 2 front occupant only. Now, if you forget that this vehicle is luxury, look no further than the touchscreen system top and center on the dash. Now, one thing to note is this screen really doesn't come out of the dash, but simply there in place all the time. Now, it is pretty much out of view, doesn't block anything, but is right there at an eye glance away for the driver, pretty much meaning there's no looking down, really no distractions. Now, I like the fact that it is kind of a quadrant system, really divided up, and you can tap on it to make it more full screen. If you get lost, simply press the home screen here, finding what you're looking for. Now, all the menus is right there. Really, real easy to navigate, allows you to scroll around, find what you're looking for. Now, the one thing to note is as you slide a little bit further back from the steering wheel like I did, it does make for a little bit of an arm stretch to get to this screen. Even more so, the controls down below seem somewhat limiting with just simply a volume control here, tune select, which is even further away, with really kind of a weird navigation when it comes to these buttons here. These are shortcuts, of course, and some tune select, but what I prefer is really an eye control system. So I went looking, and well, I found this nice knob right where my hand placement typically would find. Well, this ends up just being the driving mode that allows you to select from the various functions like Smart, Echo, Comfort, Sport, and Custom. Now, this is a great knob, and well, really, I'm just not going to use it that much here. Simply moving it over here to this open space, or even on the dash where other vehicles have it, wouldn't be a bad feature. This would be perfect to put kind of an eye control system like you find on some other premium vehicles. Now, I love symmetry, and where you're going to find it is in the climate controls with 3 symmetric knobs. First off, for the dual zones, temperature select on either side, and better yet, when you do dial in your temperature, it does translate to the top up here, allowing for the driver to barely glance down to see what the temperature settings are. Now, what I also love is fan speed when it's controlled by the knob versus the old toggle, which just makes it a little bit harder to use. Now, in between are other functions like heated steering wheel, heated and cooled seats for both front occupants, as well as some other functions. Way down low on the dash is a nice little niche area. This is going to be a place, of course, for chargeability and storing items. Now, this is a nice little padded area, and even better is it really tucks back in, holding the largest of phones with ease. Now, over here on the side is good old connectivity with a USB, auxiliary jack, and power supply. Now, one thing to note, really everything's going to kind of that USB-C, which is no longer kind of this old school, so it wouldn't hurt to, well, add that option in here to, well, get with the times. Between the front occupants, you will find dual cup holders, nice spring-loaded grippers, really holds any beverage with ease, and a nice oversized console, really giving nice elbow support for all the occupants up front. Now, if you open it up, what you will also find is decent storage, nice shallow tray, but overall holds everything. Even better if you need to charge something up, it does have connectivity here in the form of USB. Now, just in case your passengers can't figure out how to adjust their seats, there are controls here on the passenger side where the driver can reach and move the seats forward and backwards. Now, this is helpful, well, for some reason. Now, to be expected for the gauge class, you're going to find an analog tach and speedometer, but with a huge digital readout in the middle, most notably with the digital speed. Now, this vehicle also came with heads-up display, really nice and illuminated there on the windshield, and that gives you also a lot of safety information, specifically when it comes to the blind spot awareness. Now, it's the first time I've seen it on some vehicles, and it might be there, but what's great with the heads-up display is right there by the digital readout for the speed. When a vehicle is in your blind spot, it gives you not only indicator on the mirror, but also on the windshield where you're already looking. Now, if you need to change the information going down the road for that real digital readout, you can simply toggle through with the controls on the steering wheel, giving you tons of various information. On the steering wheel, you will find tons of controls on the left side for entertainment, on the right for setting cruise control. Real easy. Even better is it is automated, allowing you to set your distance, and this vehicle senses when traffic is slowing down or speeding up. Now, if you're a novice when it comes to parking, the best feature is the 360 view and the backup cameras, not to mention the sensors. Now, what I like is you can really focus on different angles, go full screen when it comes to the backup camera, or look at different sides of the vehicle to know, well, are you in the lines, or, well, is there a vehicle too close? And that does for this edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2019 Genesis G70, an entry-level sports sedan that, well, feels economic by the bottom dollar, but truly is premium when it comes to all the, well, luxury that it includes. Most importantly is the power plant of the hood, and the coupled nicely with that Grille warfare. Now, don't forget, this is supposedly a sedan, but it feels more like coupe styling when it comes to that second row, most notably in the legroom numbers that, well, are fairly tight. After all, it does supposedly seat 4 comfortably, but I treat it more like a 2-door coupe. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.